you gross? The Super Mario movie is here, and we all are excited to see it. As a matter of fact, I saw it twice, baby. The movie had action, a hero's conflict story, great visual effects, and overall, Jack Black stole the show. Go watch it, it's super fun. Super Mario! The fun-loving Italian plumber who's one of the top highest-growing media franchises in the world. Sorry, Sonic, I love you. Is taking the world by storm in theaters for the first time in decades. Not since, this movie. Since the movie's out, I thought I'd celebrate by creating my own fan art for the movie. Basically, just creating my own version for fun with all the characters, just for y'all to see while I tell a story. But let's be real here. I know why you're here. You're here to listen to my creepy Mario story. This actually happened to me when I was much younger, and while I was working at a video game store for a few years back. So, before we start, grab some popcorn, maybe paint a wall or something, I don't know, do some activity, because it's gonna be a doozy. Let's roll! Alright, so it starts off with my New York friends group. We used to hang out all the time on the weekends, basically planning places to go and just doing small activities like bowling, going to Central Park, going to the long extinct Pop-Tart World. It actually existed. Or even just having a hangout at a friend's house, which I honestly like the most because we play a lot of video games. Whatever people agreed upon, we would all just meet up and have fun. I loved it. I would have my besties that I would see on a regular basis, and every so often, we would have a new person join the group. Sometimes we would get someone in the group that would be super awesome. And other times, we would have a person come that just didn't vibe. Or worse, they would seem so nice and so wholesome at first, until they turned out to be a nasty, creepy Koopa Trooper. So one day, my bestie, his name is MC Metrocard Frisky, and he set up a hangout at Central Park group post on the Meetup app. And usually the Central Park meetups it would be popular. It would be a big group. You just grab your backpack, you grab your games, you grab a blanket, you grab snacks, and we would all share. I loved it. So when we were all together, we all sat down, and my favorite people in the group would be the artists and the gamers, because we would share. At the time, we would play 3DS and do the, the 3DS mini thing. Anyway, I digress. Usually the meetups had a larger group of guys coming than girls. I was very young and naive, and also very friendly back then. I really wanted to make new friends and impress people, so I didn't know what I was getting into. And I also didn't know that people were hitting on me or flirting with me. When a guy or a girl would talk to me, especially about video games or cosplay, I'd get very excited because we would have the same interests. Until we would talk online. Hence the interesting personality of Koopa Carl. So, after a few meetups, me and a few other people from this New York meetup group would chat regularly online. And I couldn't see them often because I lived 2 hours away, so I would visit them maybe 2 or 3 times a month. It would be like the switch was flipped. It would be like a whole different ball game. But I'll get to that in a bit. Now, Koopa Carl was the type of guy who was a furry, and liked My Little Pony and liked Disney films and superheroes and video games, especially Super Mario. He loved Mario and any nerd stuff at all, but he loved Mario the most. He loved Mario so much that he created his own OC. And for those of you who don't know what an OC is, that stands for original character. Just to give you guys a description of what this guy kind of looked like, he looked like if you Googled a My Chemical Romance fan in their 20s with that like black hair, like a little comb over, and he always wore black, and sometimes he wore a black jacket or whatever, and something like that. And so, please don't scream at me in the comments. I don't know emo or goth or anything like that. Like, I just know my friends like music like this. So like, just don't scream at me. I'm just describing, this happened so long ago. And so when we talked in person, things seemed okay. I don't judge right away. I mean, it's hard for me to do so, especially when we talked about cartoons and his oh so favorite Super Mario. He talked about his Mario OC and the fanfics he would write. Like, my guy was super passionate and at times super detailed. But he wished he could add his OC into Smash Brothers, and like his fanfics had him dating Peach, but she was goth, or she would dress in gothic Lolita gear, and then Bowser is like also emo and just wouldn't care, and like it would be really wild. But at the same time, he would continue to say Peach was hot, but only if she was goth. Like, but to each their own. And just so you guys know, it was basically like a recoloring of Mario, but he wore all black and had spikes and like wore trip pants. Take a look at it on screen. This is kind of what he looked like. Like, I'm redrawing from my memory of what this guy showed me, okay? So here it is. Listen, guys, I don't know. This is what he told me. I should have pulled the plug right there after he was telling me his Mario OC and how descriptive it was starting to become. But he was talking about, man, it would be so cool if Peach was goth, and I would love her more if she was goth, and if Bowser was goth, he'd be so hot for that. And I'm like, okay, all right. But at the same time, this is what he told me. And he kept going on, and I should have pulled the plug right there, but I was young. I really wanted to make new friends, and whatever. I was in my early 20s. And not just Coopa Carl himself, but like the group as a whole. So Coopa Carl, keep in mind, a lot of this story is going to be in reference to the online chats that we have had moving forward. Now, at first, things seemed to be all right. Okay, so one day he asked me if I had an original character, and I gave him a preview of some ideas I had for some characters. I was developing some, and I wasn't confident enough to show him like full pictures or sketches at the time. But I showed him some of the cosplays I was in and a fursuit that I was tinkering with. I wasn't sure, so here we are. Then I told him that I worked at a video game store and how it was fun to wear a costume and scare children. And I showed him my cosplay and, you guys guessed it, a Mario costume. Regrettably. He went to my Facebook and looked at the picture of me in the Mario costume, making silly poses and dances in front of the video game store. And here is how our online conversation began.
Wow, is that your Super Mario costume? Is that you? Wow, I wish my Mario OC had a costume. Wow.
He was really into it, like amazed that the costume was so well done. I was like, bro, it's just a costume that my boss bought on eBay from China. It's not a big deal.
No. You wear it so well. It's like you're actually Mario.
I never heard a dude get so excited over a costume like that before.
Can you join my group call with me and other cosplayers and furries wearing the Mario costume you showed me? Oh, and maybe, just fan yourself a little? 'Cause I know it gets hot in that costume.
At this point, I was confused. Fan myself? Also, bro, it was the video game store's mascot costume. I couldn't bring it home at random. I was like, well, I'll be honest. I feel a little uncomfortable wearing the costume and fanning myself. It's not mine to begin with. It's the store's.
Why not ask the manager if you could borrow it for a weekend? I told everyone in the group how cool you are. If you can't, don't worry about it. But I'd really appreciate it if you did.
I'll think about it. I gotta go to work. I'll talk to you later. At this point, I was even more confused. But also, I was young, and I didn't want to be left out of the group call. I thought it was something cool and new, and I could do it at the comfort of my own home. But my gut feeling was to not really do this. But guess what, y'all? I stupidly did. After we spoke, I went to work at the game store, and unironically, the boss asked if I could clean the costume because I cosplay and know how to take care and handle costumes. And wouldn't you know it, I foolishly ended up wearing the Mario costume into the group call. Well, really the Mario head only. Now, the call was scheduled for Friday, and the boss asked me on Thursday if I could get the costume cleaned by Saturday. So I figured I had time. What's the harm? Right? Now, you may be thinking, bro, dude, get out of there. Press the alarm. You might be tricked into something that's kinky, no-no, gross town. But thankfully, when I joined the Skype call that Friday, everyone in the group was actually normal. Except for Koopa Carl. The group talked about their cosplay, and some others showed their fursuits. They talked about tips on how to make your own cosplay props, all the way up to fursuiting and fursuiting tutorials. Just overall helpful, fun stuff. It was refreshing. Until Koopa Carl came in and talked about his Mario OC. And then he brought up the costume I had at work, out of nowhere. I honestly forgot about it. Even though, I brought it home, I still felt very uncomfortable. So he proceeded to DM me and expressed that he really wanted me to wear the Mario head. Too bad that you can't bring it. But as he DM'd me, he went from DMing me to bringing it up to the group. But I stupidly said, I don't know why I did this, that, hey, I got it. Can I show the group? I don't know what possessed me to do that at all. I think because I wanted more attention and to make more friends. I honestly don't know. A lot of times you're young and you're stupid, okay? Now, mind you, by this time, the costume was clean, but I only wore the head for the group because it's a big mess if you wear this whole costume, okay? They laughed. I showed them the head. I did a little dance. I did a Mario impression. Let's go. But I sound very muffled in the costume. It was just silly. I was just being silly. And I ended up making the group laugh even more with the, woohoo, yeah! And I had the camera on me, and the camera was not a good quality, but still, it made them laugh. As long as you made them laugh, it was good. But then, Koopa Carl went a little further and proceeded to DM me again about the costume. basically saying,
"Oh man, this is so cool. I can't believe you brought the Mario costume, even though you said you couldn't. Thanks, man. It's like you're actually him. I love it."
And I was like, "Oh, thanks. I just love being a cartoon character and making people laugh."
No problem. Oh, hey, could you also just fan yourself if you do another impression?
I asked him why. And then he replied,
"No reason. I just think it's funny when a person fans himself in costume. It's totally innocent. It's totally innocent."
Now, I sat there, looked at the message and thought, wait, why would someone have to say something like this is innocent? Or like really defend it? So I proceeded to say, why? I'm not hot and I don't sweat, or at least I'm not sweaty.
"I just like seeing cosplayers and furries sweat. And I think it's funny when they do this. It's a totally innocent and harmless thing to do. So can you please do that for me? Please?"
I told him that I didn't feel comfortable doing that. Something just didn't sit right with me. And then I mentioned that something had come up, that I had to go run an errand for a family member, and he left it at that. So I ended the call, or I got off the call or whatever, because it was a group chat, whatever. The next day, after work, he messaged me again, this time on Facebook. And then this guy pushed too far.
"Hey, you were amazing on the group chat yesterday. I was so impressed with your Mario impression. My friends in the group chat were so amazed."
Yeah, that was a fun group chat. Yeah, those cosplayers were pretty great, yeah. And then he said the thing that killed the conversation.
"Oh, I forgot to ask you. My birthday is coming up next weekend. It will be so cool. Can you try to bring the Mario costume again?"
At this point, I just couldn't understand what he was not understanding. It was not my costume. It was the store's. At this point, I knew he wanted something more from me in this stupid, cheap eBay costume. But I was very young and naive, and I was like, what could he possibly want? I was also still too nice back then. So I kindly said, "Dude, sorry, I can't bring the Mario costume. It's not mine. And I really, really don't feel comfortable lying or taking the costume away from the store, unless the boss wants me to repair it or something."
"Oh, okay, I understand. Don't worry, I have a Gumby costume and an elephant costume wearing a tutu. With your energy and spirit, people will love it. And then you can fan yourself. I have exercise equipment in my basement and a little stage. This way you can dance and fan yourself. I'd be so grateful."
He then proceeds to send me a YouTube video of an elephant, a guy dressed in an elephant mascot costume, riding on an exercise bike in a basement, like a refinished basement, fanning himself. I was baffled and confused. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know what a fetish was. Until that day after I told my friends about it and they explained everything to me. Oh, I was like, dude, I'm not comfortable coming over your house to a party of people I'm not familiar with. Wearing a Gumby suit and jumping around? I'm not going to your party. Thanks, but no thanks. Goodbye. Now, that was the old me. Current me would have said this. "Listen here, you gross numbnuts pervert! I am sick and tired of your excuses for what a fetish is. Yeah, I'm shaming you, Who knows how crusty and musty that costume is, you gross You ain't even paying me. So you better back off. And even if you did pay me, it'd be $10K a second. Goodbye." And that was the end of that. What made me really block him was his social media had other people or his friends wearing really cheap costumes, doing this more of the same, fanning and wearing things. It was not just women doing it, but also guys doing it too. It was so strange. So, word to the wise, don't humor people like this. Just block them. You don't owe them anything. Other than that, thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think in the comments. Has something weird like this happened to you? Were you too nice about it? And if you figured out a strategy to it, let me know. I want to thank Jay for being the voice of Creepy Coopa Carl. You're amazing, and he's a voiceover artist. Check him out in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next video. And, live your life. Live your dream. Have fun. Bye-bye.